Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about porting PlayStation 2 games to PC via recompilation. There's a project over on GitHub that's received a whole bunch of attention. For example, check out this post over on Blue Sky. Navigating on GitHub, I found a cool project, still in early stages, that's building a tool that'll allow the creation of PC versions of PS2 games, similar to the N64 and Xbox 360 recompilations. News of this site has been spreading like wildfire. A whole bunch of people are talking about it, and taking a look, it is up on GitHub. It's called PS Retrox. But there is a couple, I have one finger up, there are a couple of things that are worth pointing out here. In the description of the project, the developer says, due to recent attention and viral spread, I want to clarify that this project has been paused for several months. It was started as a personal and experimental exploration into low-level C++ and is not currently under active development. Feel free to explore and use the code freely with no restrictions. So the project is not active. Someone else says on Blue Sky that this project can't do anything and it's not feasible for PS2 or PS1 games. They say here the PS2 specific formats listed here are used only in Crash Twinsanity for its cross-plat file packages, aside from PSS, which is standard PS2 FMV. Alex continues to say, if you look at the code on the repo, it literally has Crash Twinsanity file paths hard-coded into it. The rest of the little code that is there at all doesn't really do anything other than basic disassembly. And he then says the project is just a programming newbie trying something out. It's not going to go anywhere because the guy responsible has no experience. It shouldn't even be getting reported because it doesn't do anything. It's very common for newbies to try a bunch of stuff that goes nowhere. That's how you learn. Where have we heard stuff like this before? Anyways, if you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources. But I would say here, just don't get too excited about this project at all. I don't want to say it's a nothing burger, but at the same time, it's kind of a nothing burger at this point. And speaking about nothing burgers, next up we're talking about the exact opposite of it. We're talking about EasyRPG, which just got its first update in like 2 years. For those who may not be aware, EasyRPG is a community project to create a free open-source role-playing game creation tool, compatible with RPG Maker 2000 and 2003 games. So at the time of filming, EasyRPG Player version 0.8.1 Stun is the latest update. And this update is huge. There is a whole lot to it. I could do a whole YouTube video about this and this alone, and it would be like 20 minutes. I'm not joking here, this write-up is massive. A whole bunch of regressions have been fixed, there's been updates to the battle system, there's brand new commands and extensions to make people's lives a lot easier. There's been audio improvements, font improvements, new settings, platform-specific improvements, and even more. And for those wondering about homebrew support, EasyRPG supports the Wii, Wii U, Nintendo 3DS, PlayStation Vita, and Nintendo Switch. And continuing to talk about the Nintendo Switch, next up we're talking about the Nintendo Switch 2. And it's being reported that the Switch 2 will not have game achievements. This news is being reported all over the place, but I think it started out over here on Polygon, and they interviewed Bill, the Vice President of Player and Product Experience at Nintendo, and they asked him about player achievements, and he said, nope, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. I mean, with the launch of Nintendo Today, maybe they'll use the Nintendo Today app to have some sort of tracking on some sort of features. I've got no idea on this one, but it just seems that this would be a big miss from Nintendo. And speaking about misses, next up we're still talking about the Switch 2. Now, if you've got an existing Switch with a microSD card in it and you wanted to use that microSD card in the Switch 2, you may be out of luck. And you may be out of luck for two different reasons. Number one, saves from the Switch will not be compatible with the Switch 2. And number two, your microSD card might not even be compatible with the Switch 2. So they say here, inserting a microSD card that has been previously used on a Nintendo Switch console into a Nintendo Switch 2 console will not allow you to save or load digital games or save data. And on top of that, if you take a look here between the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, the microSD card that's only compatible with the Switch 2 is a microSD Express card. For example, this is one of my favorite brands of microSD card, and that's the Red and Gold SanDisk Extreme. I find them to be relatively affordable. I find them to be more reliable than other SD cards that I have. However, this one here is not compatible with the Switch 2 according to Nintendo's website. However, this card here, which is significantly more expensive and significantly faster, is compatible with the Switch 2 according to the website. This is an EX branded card. But let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts about the microSD card situation for the Switch 2. Would you have known otherwise, and would you have tried to use an existing microSD card that may not be an express card in the Switch 2? And what are your thoughts about the game saves? And continuing to speak about misses and continuing to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2. Next up here, we're talking about the Switch 2 and the Joy-Con joysticks. And it's being reported that the Joy-Con joysticks will not be Hall effect, which could mean that they could have stick drift. I recommend checking out this video for more information on the subject, but to me this is super disappointing and a huge miss by Nintendo. I mean, stick drift was one of the biggest problems the Joy-Con had. Well, that and random pairing issues and disconnects and that kind of stuff. But at the same time here, the stick drift was a high point of contention. And I'm just wondering why they wouldn't go with Hall effect or TMR or something like that. Was it to keep the costs down? Either way here, I think that would have been a really easy win to restore a lot of confidence in people buying these Switch 2 Joy-Cons. But let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below and whether or not you care if there's TMR or Hall effect joysticks in those Joy-Cons. I mean, I'm hoping here that they do have the drift issue solved. It seems they've tried to make the joysticks feel better. But feeling better and stick drift are two different things altogether. And continuing to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm sorry for all this Nintendo Switch 2 stuff, it's just being talked about a lot online. The Nintendo Switch 2 positive and negative. I've seen way more negative than positive. Well, that just seems to be dominating the news and dominating a whole lot of online discussion. Anyways, here it's being reported that the Piranha Plant camera, the one that I think looks way better than the other camera, has a worse resolution, which to me makes no sense. Now, this Piranha Plant version of the Nintendo Switch camera is cheaper than the Nintendo Switch camera. A lot of people, like myself included, would have expected this to cost a little bit more. It costs about $16 or £16 rather cheaper than the Nintendo Switch camera. However, the resolution on this is abysmal. So the Nintendo Switch 2 camera is coming in at 1080p. And this Piranha Plant one is coming in at a whopping 480p. That is abysmal. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not expecting a whole lot out of the game chat feature, and I'm assuming the quality of the game chat feature is probably not going to be that great. Maybe it will be, I've got no idea, but based on the preview videos that Nintendo showcased, and it just seems the resolution and frame rates were not really at a state that I'd be overly excited about. Anyways, here, a 480p webcam just, well, it kind of makes things even worse in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts about this one. And continuing to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2. Next up here, we're talking about the World Tour, the tech demo that is priced at $9.99. And it seems that Nintendo is defending this price. So IGN sat down with Bill here, and we talked about Bill previously in this video, the Vice President of Product and Player Experience over at Nintendo of America. Anyways, here Bill says that $9.99 is not an exorbitant price. It's an interesting product, and for that reason, the amount of care and work that the team put into it, I think it was decided that, yeah, this feels like $9.99 is not an exorbitant price. It feels like a good value for what you're getting out of the product. I would disagree with that. I would say a tech demo should be free, but maybe that's an unpopular opinion. And speaking about paying for things, next up we're talking about a YouTuber who I think is probably going to get really famous here because they are spending 60 days in line waiting for the Nintendo Switch 2. Not joking with you, they're camped out in New York City. You can probably spot them waiting for the Nintendo Switch 2 sitting right outside of the Nintendo store. Is this something smart? I would say maybe from a PR perspective. But from a time management perspective, I could think of a whole bunch of other things to do. However, and this is a big one, I'm glad it's not me waiting outside of the Nintendo store and it's them, so I really don't have anything to worry about or complain about at all on this one. I'm actually really curious about this, and I will be paying attention to their channel, and they will be having a 60-day vlog, a daily vlog, so every day they're going to be posting videos about them waiting for the Switch 2. And I'm very curious to see when people start lining up, and also what kind of shenanigans happen. But let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And speaking about waiting for stuff, next up we're talking about Silent Hill F. Now, Silent Hill F is an upcoming Silent Hill game. It does have a Steam store page, but we don't have the price or release date. The planned release date is to be announced. However, this is just a friendly heads up that the Steam Store page was updated to say it's now Steam Deck playable. I would say overall this is probably pretty exciting for people looking forward to playing this game. And if you don't have a Steam Deck, by seeing something listed like Steam Deck compatible, I think makes things a lot better for people with possibly lower system requirements. Because if that's the case, if it plays on the Steam Deck, chances are if your PC is a little bit older, it'll probably still be more powerful than the Steam Deck. Maybe it won't be, I don't know here, but either way here, seeing this Steam Deck compatible is exciting, at least to me. And speaking about exciting stuff, and arguably not needing a powerful PC, next up here we're talking about Jackbox Games. Jackbox Games just had their Jackbox Direct for 2025 and introduced some brand new stuff. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a huge fan of Jackbox Games. I love their party packs. I think they're a lot of fun to play with friends, and the friends don't necessarily need a powerful PC. I mean, I can host the game on my own, and all they need is a mobile device. Either way here, Jackbox Games has some exciting stuff coming this year. At a high level here, they've teased a brand new murder trivia, and there's also going to be a Jackbox Party Pack 11. Let me know your thoughts about Jackbox Games in the comments below, but this to me is just amazing. I love playing this stuff with friends, especially after a few drinks. Next up here, we're talking about Pokemon and Super Mario. And if you're a fan of Pokemon Emerald, if you're a fan of Pokemon and a fan of Super Mario, or a fan of very interesting ROM hacks, you might be a fan of this. This is called Super Mariomon, and AlphaRad has a YouTube video about an hour long showcasing this game in action, and this ROM hack looks really in-depth. Again, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below at the bottom if you wanted to learn more about it. This ROM hack was in development for around 3 years, and I can completely understand why. There is a whole lot to this. There's a whole lot of ingenuity and a whole lot of weirdness. And speaking about stuff that's taken a lot of effort, last up here we're talking about Mario Kart, but not Nintendo's official version of Mario Kart. An unofficial version of Mario Kart being recreated in Unity, and the project is open source. It's up on GitHub. And I would say the results here are very impressive. I'll drop a link to this YouTube video in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. It's very interesting to see what this person has created. Now, it is worth noting that this video is from almost 4 years ago. From my understanding, it may or may not still be in development, and there may or may not be some interesting links in the description of that video. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state, and I'll see you tomorrow.